Hey, how's all you beautiful galactic light beings doing today? This is Desi here. I was just gonna have work today and had a lot of things on my mind, so I got home and just kind of started writing and flowed into this whole ordeal. Got a few pages here worth of stuff that I wrote down. The topic today is basically pain and how we can use it as a catapult, to better ourselves. Um, so I'll just get into it. I hope everyone's doing good. Um, Sometimes life circumstances brings us into dark spaces and test us to see how much we've grown, to see if we'll make the same mistakes, as we have before. As humans, we falter all the time. We relapse, we fall down, or I know I have a lot, anyways. Um, I've always had a problem with addiction, with anything I do, positive or negative. If I work out, I'll go extreme. If I play with Legos, I'll be stuck there for a week until I finish the little project. But it's the same thing with me for alcohol, and stuff. So I really have to watch myself when I get into these things because I know that with me, there's, I can't just have like one or two. I gotta go all in. Um, so I just, like I said, I have to be mindful of myself. I wish I could be like a normal, what I would consider a normal drinker, like with most people. But with me, I go to the extreme, like I said, for everything. It's just how I've always been. When I put my energy into something, I go for it, which sometimes could be good if it's something positive. But obviously it could be bad too if going to the other extreme. Um, and when I, like if it is like with drinking, I know it takes me at least like a week or two for me to get my energy back up and rolling properly. Um, so, it's one of the things like I've noticed, as I've gotten older, just to kind of veer away from this because, I enjoy being in a heightened state of being with my energy flowing good and stuff. And I know usually when I do slip up, it's from like maybe like outer, you know, uh, I would say outer circumstances, maybe that have come into my life and me maybe want to forget what's going on for a little bit or just be like, oh, it'd be okay if, just have a few drinks just to kind of forget about this situation, maybe for a little bit and get a little relief from it. But I realized that the only way to like truly get relief from a situation is to just go through the pain. And sometimes that's tough. You like if you're not wanting to experience at the time, or with me, I'm an empath, so it's like if I'm experiencing a lot of emotions, usually like it's just a lot, at the time, and so sometimes you just want to like forget about it. But I know that yeah, that you can't. There's no way to forget about it because even if you're drinking to say forget about it, the next day, at least for me, when I wake up, it's always just like 10 times worse because you've had that dopamine drop from like drinking per se the night before, and then like all them emotions just flood back into you, and it just feels 10 times worse than if you would have just sat down and just felt through the pain to begin with. And it's a tough thing to do sometimes, and this is what uh, life is about. It's about learning what you're capable of as a human and an individual, and knowing what works for you, and the only way to do that is by falling down sometimes. Don't beat yourself up. It's the only way to learn. Pain could be the greatest teacher, and if everything was perfect all the time, none of us would ever change. There'd be no point. It'd be no point to change because everything's so perfect. So it's like, la di da. But life ain't like that. And, it's through these pains and experiences that we go through, and some of this trauma that we face, we realize, that, hey, I don't want to experience this again. Let's find a way to move forward without causing myself all this grief. So, like I said, pain is the greatest teacher there is, because without pain and hurt, we would never change. So, just remember that as you're going through some of these bigger emotions, that it's okay to mess up, but don't stay in that state. Let's learn from it, move forward, and we'll make the world a better place. So let's see here. I think for all of us to experience greatness, we have to be able to resist and overcome temptation. I think that's the whole point of the spiritual journey that we're all on, is we're all going to be tempted, and but once we can learn to resist and overcome this, I think we'll experience true freedom, which will lead us into greatness. We realize we can overcome all habitual beliefs and limits through our inner consciousness. It's the only true world, and once we change our inner beliefs and dialogue, the outer follows along, because everything's created within the inner world first. Like everything we've ever witnessed or seen in this world, it all started within someone's mind first. And so that's the same way with our world. We really do create our outer world based on what is going through our inner world. So like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I said, we slip up, we learn from it. I think sometimes we have to travel into the darkness to see where we need to shine the light on things, so that we can heal fully and create a world that we know we deserve within ourselves. If everything was perfect all the time, we wouldn't know what we need to heal within ourselves. So sometimes these lessons are brought to us again, so that we can figure out where we do need to shine the light to progress in our journey. One more thing I might add to this is try not to understand feelings with the mind, I would say. It's one thing sometimes I think a lot of us do, as we try to understand our feelings through logic, and you can't logic in the mind will never be able to understand matters of the heart. Matters of the heart are from the heart. It's two totally different mind spaces. Your mind and your heart are two different spaces. You can't be in both places at once. So I would say that when you're in your heart space, when you're in the feeling of going through those feelings, I would just say feel into it fully, experience what's going on within the heart, and try to just sit with that for a while, and try not to jump up into your headspace, because even though logic can help you in certain situations, like said, oh, I don't want to do that again because, I experienced this or that, which that'll help create, maybe better situations from you, but it's not going to get you through the feelings or the emotions that's going through you. And the only way to get through those is to truly sit with it and feel it, and try not to get the mind involved. And when you do that, you can actually, walk through these emotions and, find the other side of them and release them. When you do this, I think you might actually surprise yourself on how much strength and courage you actually have to be emotionally strong. And you'll build a new inner world for yourself. And after a while, after all these layers of bricks that you made from your strength, you'll realize that you aren't building a new house, but finding the one that you've always lived at as a divine being. For you and all of us are all God individualized, building a world for the one consciousness. So let's build a beautiful one. It starts within, changing our dialogue, changing our imagination, our state of being, our beliefs, our feelings that we feel throughout the day. And then that world, our inner world, is pushed outward and manifest in the 3D world. So let's start again today, or anytime we get down, or we can always start from here. It's never about anywhere else. We could do it anytime we need to. We can just start from this state. The world is the mirror of our inner consciousness. We can't change the mirror of the outer world, but what we can do is change our face and smile back into it by changing our inner states. So anyways, that's some of the things I wrote down today. I was thinking this is usually my poem section, and this one is, I'm gonna see if you guys get it right away. I'm just gonna read it, but I thought this would be a fun one to put in here. We gotta start making changes. Learn to see me as a brother instead of two distant strangers, and that's how it's supposed to be. How can a devil take a brother if he's close to me? I'd love to go back to when we played as kids, but things change, and that's the way it is. That's some Tupac, man. It was hard for me not to rap that. I was just trying to test you all, but one of the best poets of all times. Anyways, trying to make something lighthearted of a serious situation, that goes through, that we all face, in a daily, weekly, or monthly, or whatever throughout life. We're always going to come across circumstances that are going to test our limits and boundaries, and see if we're going to slip up and fall back into old habitual habits. But like I said, pain can be the best teacher if we use it in the right way to actually make these changes in our life. So let's not beat ourselves up too hard when we do make mistakes. Know that there's always going to be another brighter day. Just keep pushing forward, and as long as we continue to change our inner dialogue and our inner imagination, and start changing the way we believe within our mind, start creating good states, we are going to push that inner, more beautiful state outwards, and we're going to start seeing people the way that, or the world even, the way that we want to see it. So this is a little bit longer video, but I hope you all took something from it, and let's just make this world a better place together. I love you all. Till next time.